In recent weeks and months, there's been a flurry of announcements in the gaming industry relating to upcoming releases, from highly anticipated sequels and remakes to brand new titles. I, for one, am really excited about many of these new games, but there's one that stands out to me personally, aside from Arc 2, of course. Can't talk about that enough. But during Sony's recent State of Play livestream, Capcom announced a remake of its popular title Resident Evil 4, which is set to be released March 24th of 2023, a date that just cannot get here quick enough in my opinion. I gotta tell you, this news makes me feel like a child waiting for Christmas morning or something. Now, I think it's fair to say that there's widespread agreement among those of us in the Resident Evil fanbase who would say that the fourth installment in the series has been the best, and by no small margin either. I find myself among this majority. Because I just simply cannot contain my excitement for this new game, I decided to come up with this top 5 list of some of the scariest moments in the original Resident Evil 2005 game. And if you're a fan of the series, then you know that Capcom is absolutely going to compound the intensity, suspense, and jump scare factor of these iconic Resident Evil 4 moments. And I'm so hyped to see what they can do with this game, given the nearly 2 decades of modern advances in the game development since the original game was released. Now, like always, anything I say in this video is not simply a matter of opinion, but rather objective fact. With that said, if you disagree with any of the items on this list, I invite you to share your incorrect opinions in the comment section. I would really love to see some strong community engagement around this topic. And if we can get a lot of different viewpoints on this, I would absolutely make a follow-up video where I will refute, deny, or agree with your comments. With that said, I'm Shawn with the Philosophy of Gaming, and let's dive right into the list. Now, a quick note before we get started. This video does contain gameplay footage that depicts blood, gore, and violence, therefore may not be appropriate for a younger audience. Viewer discretion is advised henceforth. Also, this video does contain spoilers, so consider yourself forewarned. To start off this top 5 list, we look to Leon's first run-in with an enemy known as the Garador, or the Blind Guy as we in the Resident Evil community like to refer to him. The first Garador encounter takes place very shortly after Leon enters the castle. Leon must gain access to a locked door in order to advance. However, the switch that unlocks the door is located inside of a prison cell where this monster awaits. The game quickly reveals that the Garador's eyes are barbarically sewn shut, but that's hardly an advantage to you as he slowly stalks Leon by his keen sense of sound. Move too fast, and the 8-foot-tall prisoner will just run at you before flailing his long triple-bladed gauntlets on each hand in every direction. This fight is especially challenging because there's a chance of instant decapitation if he catches you with one of those blades. But once you've figured out the trick to fighting this freak of nature, he's really not too difficult to kill, but for the first time player, he can certainly make your heart beat out of your chest. So unlike the Garador, the number 4 moment on this list causes me to tense up every time I get to this point in a playthrough. This is the part where Leon must enter the castle sewers and face the Novista Doors for the first time. While you encounter these giant insects multiple times throughout the game, the first time is by far the worst. Why? Because the bastards are invisible, that's why. Now the buildup before you even see the first bugger is quite intense too, made so by the creepy music, the pursuing footsteps, and eerie bug screeches that echo throughout the cold, dank sewers. Now once you've engaged the Novista Doors in combat, they're really not that bad. Just another wall and ceiling climbing man-sized cockroach that can pluck Leon's head off in a single swipe and spit flesh-eating acid all over Leon's face. Of course, while soaking up all of your gunshot rounds with its hard shell. Oh yeah, and did I mention that they're invisible too? And also that there's multiple of them. I'm telling you, this part of the game takes a bit of backbone and some skill to master. Truth be told, I'm kind of dreading to see how the remake ups the ante with these miserable insects. Well, no horror video game would be complete without a stage in which you must play as the defenseless damsel in distress, and Resident Evil 4 does this well. It's not just enough to confront a couple of vanilla bad guys when you play as the unarmed Ashley, which you do have to do, but no. You must then navigate a series of pitch black narrow corridors armed with nothing but a dim flashlight. Only upon reaching the dead end of the dungeon and retrieving an artifact to proceed in the game does the suspense of anticipation end and all hell breaks loose. Armed with claymores and axes, 4 clanking reanimated suits of armor relentlessly chase down the defenseless president's daughter. The chase is on, and you must flee the dark hallways with these brutes hot on your heels. Just to add to the anxiety though, there are now impediments to hinder your escape, while the clank, clank, clanking footsteps are a constant reminder of how closely death follows. This part was butt-clenching enough in 2005 in that version of the game, but just imagine what sick twist the developers will add to a brand new game to keep us on our toes or something. You will satisfy the stomachs of my cute pets, says the sinister villain Salazar. I dread these words every time I hear them when I play through this game. As if navigating a hedge maze at night isn't creepy enough, a good Resident Evil game will make absolutely sure that you're not alone in there and waste no time in informing you of that fact. The quick pitter-patter footsteps and heavy breathing can be heard from the beasts that are hunting Leon while you're just trying not to get lost. The reason why the garden maze is so scary is because the maze itself confines you in these tight walkways and makes you feel claustrophobic, meaning that a creature could just pop out from around any corner and be in your face without warning. If I haven't said so already, these things are parasite-infected wolves that are chasing you. And they really are freaky looking. Armed with gnarly teeth and tentacles flailing from their backs, these agile beasts can quickly overwhelm Leon and maul him to his gruesome death. To make matters worse, there are even a few wolves that just pop straight out of the bushes, creating some solid jump scares. One could only hope that Capcom would cut this part out of the remake, but it's just too iconic. You know damn well that they're not only going to keep this dreadful maze, but they're also going to make it far more intense. How will they do this? Well, that remains to be seen. Before we get to number 1, I must give a brief shout out to the giant chainsaw man that wields the double-bladed chainsaw, or it might actually be 2 chainsaws that are chained together, but of course, if you're close enough to look, then you're likely dead. This brute is massive and just whips that chainsaw around in every direction, and also seemingly unfazed when he takes a shotgun blast to the chest. He doesn't make the list though not because he's not scary, but because he's not in the main story of the game. He's just in the arcade-style mercenary mode, but he's definitely not to be taken lightly, if you find yourself brave enough to face him. So, finally, the moment in Resident Evil 4 worthy of being crowned the number 1 scariest moment in the game will surely come as a surprise to no one that's played it. The Regenerators. I'm a grown-ass man, but even when I get to this part of the game, I will audibly groan and say something like, well, here we go, son of a bitch. If you're unfamiliar with the freakish Regenerator, allow me to fill you in. A Regenerator is a gray-skinned humanoid with a mouth that covers half of its face. A mouth that's filled with large, gangly, knife-like teeth. They also have this deep, raspy breathing that just makes your skin crawl. Even the way it'll just slowly walk while stalking Leon is really quite disturbing. The worst part, though, is actually how it gets its name. You can shoot holes into its body, and the holes will just patch themselves up in an instant, or blow off the limbs or even its forehead, and it'll grow back in seconds. The freakiest thing about these abominations is what happens when you blow off both legs. One might let out a sigh of relief thinking that you put this bastard on the ground, flopping around on its belly to buy yourself some time, only surprised when it launches itself across the room and lands on Leon, chowing down on his jugular. Needless to say that these sick, demented freaks are by far the scariest and most disturbing addition to the game. I would even be willing to say that they're among the scariest of all creatures in any Resident Evil game, which is why I will 100% be buying the new Resident Evil 4 Remake when it comes out next year. I'm also fairly confident that it will take me weeks to beat this game, due solely to the fact that the Regenerators will surely be returning in a brand new, terrifying way, causing me to turn off my console and just go cry in the corner of my bedroom. It will take a true act of courage to confront a 2023 version of any of the things on this list, but the infamous Regenerators is in a league of its own. Honestly, I am so excited to see how Capcom overhauls an already iconic and frightening game, and I have such high hopes for it. So, with all of that said, I'm pretty sure, like I said in the beginning, that all my opinions are objectively correct. However, if you disagree, I'm not kidding. I would really, really love for you to give me your input in the comment section. Is there a certain moment in the game that I just might have overlooked or missed? Please let me know, or just reaffirm some of the ones I've already said. Either way, I really want to hear your opinions because I want to make a follow-up video where we talk about this, me and you together. But until then, I'm Shawn with the Philosophy of Gaming, and I'll see you next time.